Hey everybody, welcome to Formula Essentials. My name's Maria Marquis, and in this video, we're talking about thisRow, which is a big differentiator for how Coda thinks about data. If you're used to working in a Google Sheet or Excel, you're used to working with cells, right? Hence the name Excel, right? Each cell is its own standalone thing, which is why you have to use coordinates to make your calculations. Well, we here at Coda actually think about the entire row as being the smallest unit inside of a Coda doc. So let me show what I mean by that. Here in our task table, we've got this second round testing row. So second round testing, this cell, doesn't exist without all of the other contextual information, like which team it's part of, what's its status, when is its end date, who's it assigned to, etc. This is part of why we can always expand a row by clicking on this little icon over here to be able to see everything in one unit. So you always have the contextual detail about every piece of data that you've got. Now, because we have this idea of a row being the smallest unit of measure, we can do some really fun things with it. The first thing we can do is we can extrapolate, which is just a fancy way of saying, show me more of what's underneath the hood. So for example, up here, we've got our projects table, the localization initiative, project lead is me, yours truly, and the challenge is 3 flames. Now down here, we've actually pulled in all of that information, and notice if I hover over it, I see all of the row detail. Now what I can do is I can insert a column, let's do it to the left, and if I want to know the project lead, all I need to do is type equals, and then I can say, hey, look at the project. And then we use that dot, which is like saying, and then go to the next step, show me that project lead for this particular row. Now when I press enter, notice it shows me dynamically every single person who's connected to those projects. Because again, the project doesn't exist in isolation. The row follows that piece of information everywhere it goes inside of your Coda doc. So we can extrapolate, that's one. But the other thing we can do is we can summarize. So for example, we could scroll through our entire task table and see how we're doing. That's not a problem. This is relatively small table-wise, but what if we had hundreds of tasks? We wouldn't want to scroll through and try and guess. We can have all of that get summarized up at the top using thisRow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a column to our projects table. We're going to call this the total tasks. And now I'm going to say, hey, Coda, it's time to do a formula. Let's press equals. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want to look at the task table. And then I want to filter where the project, there we go, is equal to this row. And then I want to count it. So notice we're building on a lot of our formula fundamentals here, right? Starting with the table you want, filtering, there's our handy little filter formula, but in this case, we're filtering along this particular row. Show me only the things that match the row item here, the project. And then I want to count it. So great, that is my total tasks. We see we've got 3, 4, and 4. Now, if I were to change any of these projects, maybe this is actually part of expansion challenge, notice it changes up here too. Let's take this one step further. I'm going to add another column here, and we're going to call this the completed tasks. But we'll spell it right. Always a challenge for me. And then we're going to type equals, saying, hey, Coda, it's time to do a formula. In this case, we're going to say, hey, look at that task table. So this should be familiar. We're going to filter by the project is equal to this row, and the status is not equal, or no, is equal, there we go, to done. And then we want to count it. So we're just making the middle part, that filter part, be a little bit more detailed to show multiple criteria. But in this case, it's the exact same thing, and the key is right here in pink. We want to be looking at everything that matches this particular row. Now when I press enter, it shows me how we're completed, and if I wanted to get super fancy, which I do always, I could then add another column here dividing the completed task by total task and making it percentage, or having it be expressed as a scale icon. I can take this as far as I want. But the idea here is that we can summarize all of the information on a row-by-row basis because of the power of thisRow. So you get context, extrapolation, and summarization all with one tiny little formula piece. Now it's your turn. Start exploring your rows, create some summaries, and I'll see you next time.